Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Grayson the Dean 221 Nichols here again on the Elite Rounders YouTube channel with this week's newest episode of Poker After Dark. So again, they're running these every Monday night on Poker Go. I recommend signing up there so you can follow along with the stuff that we're talking about. We're also doing the new high stakes poker episodes every Wednesday, so go ahead and like and subscribe, and you will get those videos popped up on your feed anytime you pull up YouTube right away. So, today we are looking at the next episode of the Coaches Game on Poker After Dark. Tough field, good players, so let's just jump right into it. I thought this spot was really interesting. Right here, we're looking at the river decision for Faraz the Toilet Jaka. Really great player, tough professional, online legend. And I just want to ask the simple question to you guys. Would you all value bet here, right? Let me give you kind of the background on what happened in this hand, and then you guys can decide if you would have value bet here, because I found this to be a strange bet, and there was a couple of really interesting points in this hand where I think they could have maybe gone differently, right? So to start the hand, Matt Affleck, also a good professional, limps in from the small blind with Queen 8, and Faraz ISO raises with 9-4 off. Now, this might look confusing to people, but the idea with Faraz's raise is that 9-4 offsuit is just not going to win many hands on its own volition, right? It's not a very good hand. It's not going to realize equity post flop. So it's just not going to really win often unless there's some initiative to it. So Faraz decided to raise pre-flop, hope they'll take down the pot X amount of the time, and then he knows that if Matt calls, which he will a fair amount, Faraz will win with continuation bets on the flop as well. So it makes sense. I get where his head's at, and the idea is taking some of our really bad hands in this spot and moving them to our isolation range to add a little umph, a little fold equity, a little value to them, right? So I get where he's at. He raises, Matt goes ahead and calls. So the flop is an interesting spot. Ace high, nothing for Matt except a backdoor flush draw. Checks to Faraz, who bets super small. He bets like 7K into a pot of like over 25, I believe. And so this is a spot where, again, people are like, oh, I got to bet my range, blah, blah, blah. I think this is a spot where it doesn't really make sense for Faraz to bet so small, because so many of the hands that he would like to fold, for Matt to fold, like this, hands that can realize a ton of equity on a number of turns, are just going to call because he made it so cheap for them, right? And that's exactly what happened. Matt calls here with just queen high, backdoor spades, backdoor straight draw, because it was like a 1/4 bet. Sure enough, Matt binks the queen on the turn, and now Faraz is in trouble, right? So I think that's a really questionable small bet by Faraz in the first place. If he bet one blind more, I believe he would elicit more folds that would be good for him when he has a junky hand like this, right? So try not to be in the habit of like, I have to bet this with my range. Just make sure you're betting for a reason, for a purpose. And I believe on this flop, even though Faraz is betting for some value, he still is happy when his opponent folds. So I think that's important to keep in the back of our mind. So turn is a check. And here comes the river. Now Matt is pretty confident he's good here, and he checks to Faraz, which we will discuss that decision in a minute, right? But before we discuss that, I want to ask you guys, would you all value bet here? So when Matt's checked to Faraz here, I believe Faraz thinks he has the best hand. And so he chooses to value bet 13,000 in this spot. And so my question to you guys is, do you like that? Would you do that? Because what immediately popped into my head was, yeah, I could see Faraz having the best hand here a lot, but what does he expect Matt to call with, right? Like the only thing worse than 9-4 here would be 3s, 2s, or king high. So if Matt's not calling with those hands, then this is a useless value bet, right? So I think I might just check back here with the 4. I think we're good a fair amount of the time, but I'm just not sure Matt is going to be calling with king high in this instance. So I also think that, there is some risk to betting so small against such an elite player as Matt Affleck, who could also check raise bluff in these spots. So like, do you want to open yourself up to that possibility for something that's already a razor thin value bet in the first place? And I'm not sure, but I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. I think it's a questionable spot. Then the other part of the hand I want to talk about is Matt's check on the river. I like that a lot, but then Matt said after the hand, when he saw Faraz's hand, he was like, oh, maybe I should have bet. And I think it's funny that he starts doubting himself because he saw Faraz's strange value bet. I think Matt's check makes a lot of sense here. And I think the most common dichotomy you will run into in the river is this split decision of whether or not you check call or you bet fold, right? And I lean check call more in spots where my opponent could possibly be bluffing. Maybe a missed flush draw, missed straight draw. Look at this board. Hearts missed, straights missed, like 5-7, 7-8. So I actually think Matt's check makes a lot of sense because Faraz can have a lot of those hands and he can now bluff with them, right? So I love the check call at Matt's shoes. In fact, I would even give you guys a hint. Never check call on the river unless your opponent can have some bluffs in their range, right? Some bluffs. That's what they got to have. If they have no bluffs, you should almost always be bet folding. It's very rare you'll want to check call. So keep that in the back of your head. I think that's a good little like kind of like guideline you could use essentially. Never check call the river unless your opponent has some bluffs. So I really dig Matt's check call. Makes a lot of sense. I think Faraz's value bet was a little thin. Let me know what you guys think. Really cool hand. Awesome watching these tough players battle it out. Was a good heads up battle with Romero and Affleck as well. Spoiler alert, Jaka gets third. Recommend you guys go back and watch these episodes on Poker Go so you can check out the hand and kind of talk in the comments with us and just talk through some of these weird spots, you know. Again, like and subscribe and check out our new high stakes poker video, which will be out Thursday morning. Having a real fun time going through those hands and watching Doug Polk and company just completely own Phil Hellmuth. So again, check us out on the Elite Rounders channel. Appreciate it. You guys, good luck this week, and I'll see you all Thursday morning. Take care, guys.